Hi, everyone. This is Kirsten, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Relocate podcast. So, today we are going to talk about what in the world is in my emergency kit, because the year 2025 it just started, and there's already a lot going on. We couldn't even get through 3 whole weeks without a huge catastrophic wildfire occurring in California. And I'm sure a lot of people just was not prepared for that. I'm not even prepared for that. Y'all know I'm based in Austin, Texas, and it's kind of dry here. I don't know if my emergency kit has anything that could ever prepare me for a moment like that. I think I have some stuff in there that could be handy. I'm not too certain. Are we ever truly really prepared for an emergency? How do you even begin to prepare for something like that, like a wildfire? I feel like a lot of us, we are kind of tuning into this podcast because we want to get better understanding of what people go through when they relocate and they're settling in different cities and different places across the world. But let's be real, because I've heard some chatter out there and folks are saying, hey, why are people living in LA anyways if they know that that area is prone to wildfires? Where else do you expect people to go when, if you look at the world globally, please name me a place where you can move to and not have to endure any type of natural disaster or any type of weather prone or weather like occurrence, Where? If you find it, let me know, because I like to have you on this episode to talk about that. Talk about where you live. Like, I would love that. But let's be real. The majority of the places in this world in the world, on this earth, we are subjective to anything, really. It could be wildfire, it could be hurricane, typhoon, mudslides, tornadoes, snowstorms, so much, flooding. Water levels are rising around the world, and people are, coming to terms with, I might not be able to live in this space. There's a lot that we don't think about when it comes to relocating. And I think this is definitely an important matter that we should focus on at one point of our relocation journey. What if you're going to move to a certain area, what type of weather is that area prone to? I digress for now, because we're going to talk about what is in my emergency kit. What is in it? I need to take inventory of what is in my emergency kit, because if I feel like I'm not fully prepared, then I need to go out and grab some more items and make sure I am prepared. So let's see. All right, so I have a bin, pretty big bin. I think this is about maybe 13 gallon bin here that I have in my garage. And I took it out so I can take a look at what is in it. Need it to make sense, because I was once in Houston, Texas, and that area is definitely prone to hurricanes. So in my mind, I was thinking, flooding, power is not working. I'm going to need some supplies for that. If there's another winter storm like the one that occurred in 2021, where I didn't have power for 5 days, how am I going to prepare for something like that? So I created this kit with that in mind, but it's time to reassess. I think this is a good thing. It's better to stay ready than to get ready. And I read an interesting statistic FEMA did, like an actual survey back in 2023. And they surveyed a few thousand people, and apparently half of them felt like they were prepared in the case of an emergency. In case of an emergency that's catastrophic, like a hurricane or a tornado or a fire, maybe. I don't know if I'm prepared for that. So let's see. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to start off with a portable gas stove. It's a little camping stove with one eye on it. I have butane, I know, to go with that. So let me open up my emergency kit. All right. I told y'all I was going to be prepared if the power goes out in any circumstance. So I have plates. Oh, what's this? I have face shields. Back from the pandemic when these were necessary for whatever reason. I have a bunch of face shields. Great. We're off to a good start, I guess. Napkins. I have, what is this? A camping lantern. Oh my gosh, a camping lantern. What type of batteries? Batteries not included. Okay, great. Do I even have batteries for this? Let's see. 3D size batteries. I hope I was wise enough to buy batteries to go with this. I have an emergency water storage kit. This goes in your bathtub, and you line the bathtub with this bag, and you fill it up with water, and it can hold up to 65 gallons of water. This is perfect when the power goes out and you don't have a way to take a bath, take a shower. You may need this water for, I don't know, you may need it once the power comes back on, because 9 times out of 10, the water's going to be contaminated. They're going to tell you boil water for days. Okay, candles, little tea candles, more tea candles. Also, I believe in a way, this is coming from a place of privilege, because if I'm also being real, this podcast, I wanted to reach people in different countries. I mean, I don't even know if people have access to stuff like this, but I hope you do. If you're listening, hope you're able to. If not, let me know how I can help you. We have paper bowls or styrofoam bowls, foam bowls. Oh, a life straw, personal water filter that I got here. This makes contaminated water safe to drink. Hopefully I can use that for something one day, just to test the waters and make sure it works, so I know how it works before I actually maybe need to use it in the case of emergency. Oh, I do have batteries. I have D batteries and AA batteries from the HEB. Shout out to HEB. Love you, girl. All right. I have cotton face masks. Never know when you may need that. Hand warmers, because if y'all been listening to me, I hate getting cold. Have some hand warmers. Gotta stay warm. What is this? Emergency weather radio. It's gonna be good for something. What type of batteries? Oh, it comes. Oh, there's a flashlight on it. See, I've never used this, which is good. I've had this for about 3 years. But what type of batteries? Am I prepared for this, to use this? AAA batteries. I said I have double A. I don't think I have triple A. This is a mask that I think a friend made for me. Yes. Shout out to African Waistline. Love you, girl. Hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide. Plastic forks. Ooh, I have a lighter and it works. Ooh. Scrunchy. All right, we're getting down to the end, unfortunately. I have more forks. I have spoons. I have spoons. Spoons. More spoons. Spoon. Yeah. Knives. Knives. From the head. Shout out to you, HEB. Rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol. Okay, this gets fun. I have butane. Please don't store the butane the way that I stored it because this is very flammable and it can definitely explode at any given time. Ooh, yeah. I think maybe for future references, I might store this somewhere safe. I don't know what that looks like, but if you have any suggestions for me, let me know. I have 2 cans. Oh my gosh. And that's just been sitting for years. I'm surprised nothing has happened. Thank the Lord. All right. More hand warmers. More hand warmers. I have wipes. These wipes are pandemic old. I don't know if they're good. I'm not gonna. Oh, I'll figure this out offline. Hopefully it's not dry. Hand sanitizer. Okay, so fun story about this. I mean, sure, you can use this for your hands. You can use the hand sanitizer for your hands. But when the winter storm happened in Houston, I mean, it happened all over Texas, but I didn't have power and I was really, really cold and I needed heat somehow. So I just grabbed an aluminum can and I filled it with tissue, paper towel, and I doused the paper towel with hand sanitizer and I lit the paper on fire. And I was in a pretty small space and it kept me warm for a few hours. Don't necessarily think that's the best idea because you need proper ventilation, but I did it anyways because I was cold. Y'all know me, I don't like being cold. All right. Duct tape. Yeah. More hand sanny and a blanket. The end. I don't even have a first aid kit. I don't know how far I was going to get with this with no first aid kit. Wow. Well, if you have any suggestions, I know I made a list. Maybe I should follow it because I shared it with you all in episode 11. But yeah, clearly I'm prepared for something. And now I see why a little more like 51% of people who completed that FEMA survey said that they felt like they were prepared in the case of an emergency. Yeah, so let's talk about this a little bit more because this is fun. I'm sure we sat back and watched what happened in Los Angeles and said, well, it won't happen to me. Surely that would never happen to me. Never say never. Can you ever really say never? I mean, a lot of us, we live really close to people. If it's not the weather, then it's our neighbor. You know, we have to really come together as a community and not only think about ourselves, but think about people that we live around. We want to be prepared not only for ourselves, but for the people around us. Build good practices of having different things on hand to be prepared for moments in which there could be an emergency, like a fire. I can't, unfortunately, begin to tell y'all if something happened to me and I live in an apartment, I live around a lot of people. If there was a fire, I'm sure there's a fire extinguisher somewhere around here. I don't know exactly where it is. See, it's not good. Just when I thought that I was fully prepared and I've been thinking ahead, I'm not thinking ahead enough. And if you're like me, you're probably wondering, how can I think ahead? If you take the time to prepare in advance, it'll reduce not only stress, but it'll reduce financial strain in the event that an emergency does occur. You also need emergency funds. It's a lot to think about. But I wanted to bring light to this because we never know when it could be us, or if we never know if it could be us, you know? Being prepared helps the community, it keeps our neighbors safe. It keeps us as safe as we possibly could be. So if you're listening, please don't take what's happening lightly. Please take a moment to, if you have an emergency kit, review your inventory. Do you have everything that you need in the event that whatever your area is prone to, you know, whatever your area is prone to, like, are you fully prepared for that? Are you prepared in the event that any other type of disaster occurs? I mean, North Carolina, parts of that area, parts of Georgia, when it got affected by Hurricane Helene last year, those places that got the most damage usually don't get affected by hurricanes. It's a lot. It's a lot to think about. But if you want more information on ways to be prepared and just takeaways of how to prepare for certain instances, such as a hurricane or even a winter storm, please take a look at episode 11. I also drop a guide in the description as well that you can rely on to build an emergency kit if you don't have one, or build a type of plan, an emergency plan. If you're living solo, definitely make sure that you are familiar with your neighbors. Kind of guilty of that. I know one neighbor, and I've been in my apartment complex for about 2 years. So I have to drop the link for that FEMA survey because a lot of people did certain things to prepare, but one of the ways that wasn't highly graded was people getting engaged with their community and people really connecting with their neighbors to create an action plan in the case there is an emergency. And if you're living solo, especially you, person who's living solo, you need that extra guidance. I'll leave you with one more thing because I believe I explained a good bit in the video or in episode 11, but yeah, in the event that something happens, the one thing I wish I had in this emergency kit was a list of contacts, an emergency contact or two, maybe some that's in my area and some that are far away, like my mom. That's a good example because she doesn't live in Texas, but I would like for her to be notified if I was in an emergency and someone was digging through this emergency kit trying to find whatever, An item that I didn't include in here, probably won't consider that including, but I want to emphasize the importance of taking important documents and putting it in a bag. Put it in a waterproof bag. That's going to be very important if your house is flooded, or if there's a fire or something of the nature, and you need to provide certain documents like a social security card or your ID or what have you to different emergency resources to get funding as you find your way through like your next steps of the process. And I worked for a company where we provided disaster relief funding, and federally, we were contracted with the government, and we needed ID, and a lot of people didn't have IDs because whether they was affected by a hurricane, all that stuff got washed away, and they just didn't have, they moved far away from where they were basically refugees in a sense, having to move and relocate to a different state in order to start over again because they lost their home community. I mean, be as prepared as possible. If you don't have certain documents right now, please go and get those documents. Put it in a safe bag. Make sure it's waterproof. If you can, get some fire-resistant products. Whatever, just based on where you are, be mindful of what you're prone to. What type of people you live around. Be mindful of what you can do to help your fellow neighbor. And, like I said, I'm coming from a place of privilege. I am kind of young, but we may live around people or live with people who are disabled or elderly or super young. You are sick. We really have to come together and be aware of what we're working with and what type of resources we can provide so that everyone is safe in the case of an emergency. I'm open to communicating more about this topic. If you have any additional items you'd like to add regarding anything that's mentioned today, definitely leave your words and wisdom in the comments. So let's get this conversation started. We talk about drama and gossip and reality TV and sports, and that's cool. But let's get real. I'd rather you be safe than sorry. So, yeah, this is a different episode today, but I really feel like this topic is so important. When people talk about relocating, they just don't talk about this topic often. We may talk about what it's like to live in a certain area, as far as the customs, as far as the food, the language, different emotional and mental and identity related topics that are kind of intertwined with relocating. But what do we do in the event of an emergency? Let's get it together, y'all. Let's create a plan. Let's work together to really support one another, and especially with this platform. Let's take this conversation outside of this platform. Talk to our neighbors. Talk to our loved ones. I'm probably going to go as far as I'm going to work on my emergency kit in my little bin right now. And I probably need a new bin because this one was almost full. But I want to get to the point where I have a bag in my car, because what if I'm not home? There's so much to think about. So many people in Los Angeles, when that fire happened, a lot of people were working and they could not get home to where maybe their emergency kit was. So yeah, let's get the conversation going. Let's get it going. Let's get it going in the chat. Share this with a friend. Share this episode with a friend. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. and let's help one another save time, money, and energy. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to have new episodes every Wednesday, and you may hear stories from people about their experience, but you may also get content like this. So definitely subscribe and stay tuned for more. Once again, this is Kirsten, and I am signing out. Have a great day.